Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. And you have entered the center. I am your host, DC Radical One. Shout out to Raw on the boards and our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out at onthewakeupradio.com. We are on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and now on iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. The call-in number, if you would like to join this conversation, and then I expect it to be a hot one, is 646-547-1305. As for myself, you can follow me on Instagram at DCRadical1. Also, if you would like to donate to On the Wake Up Radio, $5, $10, $2, $1, whatever you have, we greatly appreciate it. It is a labor of love, but we also live in a capitalist society. If you appreciate the free content, please help us keep the message uncensored and free. You can donate through PayPal at onthewakeupradio@gmail.com. Also, if you would like an advertisement slot, please hit us up at onthewakeupradio.com. Now, before we get into today's discussion, I myself have two announcements. If you're in the DMV area, you want to check us out, we're having our first of the year Straight Black Pride Singles Mixer, September 14th at 7 p.m. at Everlasting Life. This event is free for all straight, black, and proud singles. There will be a different theme and set of activities for each event, and we're going with a game night for the first event. The game nights are always fun and exciting. Come on out if you are straight, black, proud, and single to meet someone special, but at least you will have some fun if you don't meet that special someone. Also, 1 week after that, 2 weeks from yesterday, 9/21/19, 6 p.m., myself will be presenting, doing a lecture, and it is called Africa versus Everybody, the extended remix. So this is the official edition of that lecture. And if you're in the D.C. area, or even if you're not in the D.C. area and you want to come on down. I'm doing this one for free, and it's going to be a absolutely timely and much-needed lecture, letting us know who we are, who our friends are, who our enemies are, and what we need to do. So with that being said, today's discussion on the Wake Up Radio, and this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to talk for about 25 minutes. We're going to take a 4-minute break, and then we're going to come back and take phone calls. I want to talk a little bit about discussion. And the discussion is a question. The question is, do black women love and support homosexuals? And I've heard from brothers for a while, and I really thought it was maybe kind of, I didn't think that brothers were correct. I thought, some people are exaggerating, you're running in the wrong circles, things of that nature. But I must say, without a doubt, there's definitely a segment of our women who definitely love and support homosexuals more than they love and support straight black men. But I'm going to tell you what sparked this discussion that made me say, all right, today's the day, today's the time. Last week in Brooklyn, we had our straight black pride meet and greet in Brooklyn. And Brother Irritated Genie was there. He was talking with some people. I was in another section talking with some people, having a good time. It's a meet and greet. We relaxing, eating food, things like that. And so he's talking to a sister, and he's asking, and it was a couple. It was a brother and sister. He's talking to the sister. He asked them how they met, and they got to talking or whatever. I wasn't really paying attention to that part. And then all of a sudden, he's like, hold up, y'all got to hear this. So he says, well, no, he asked her to say what she said. And she says that the reason she had been single so long is because she didn't want a man that wasn't okay with the LGBT community. So she was looking for a straight man that would be okay with the LGBT. And it never occurred to her that that was a contradiction. It never occurred to her that a man, a straight man, a manly man that wants black women would not be okay with the LGBT because the two are diametrically opposed. That if he's a man, he's a strong black man. Because sisters will be like, I want a strong black man. They'll say that. And they'll say they want a strong black man. But then they want a strong black man that's going to be okay with you bringing around a weak black man in their presence. That's not how it works. And so the sister, she went on and she was talking about some of her friends, and they were telling her, in essence, that if he's not okay with the LGBT, he's not comfortable. The stuff they say, not comfortable in his sexuality or whatever the case may be, things like that. And so it never occurred to her until we had that discussion, that the reason why she had so much trouble finding a man was because of that idea. And, it was deep to hear it because I never heard a sister say that before, like admit it. She didn't realize that we're talking about two opposing forces here. We're talking about strong manhood, masculine energy, masculinity, black masculinity. Because this is what sisters say they want. And then LGBT. And so what sisters have to understand is you have to make a choice. Now, a lot of sisters have subconsciously made the choice, but they don't understand the choice they make. A man who's a strong black man. Number one of the things that a strong black man, a serious black man, is going to be about, he's going to have standards. And one thing I noticed is sisters that didn't grow up with a father, they're not used to the standards. Most people that have fathers, one of the things you remember him most for is saying no. It's one of the main things your father does. He says no. Doesn't matter what it is. You remember him saying no. Second thing you remember him teaching you something about you. Whether he taught you how to ride a bike, whether he taught you how to drive a car, whether he taught you how to fix your car, change your spark plugs, your oil, your brakes, whatever. These are things that fathers do. Whether he took you fishing, things like that. But the other thing you remember him for is setting boundaries. Now, the LGBT are the very opposite of that in the respect of they don't believe in boundaries. No matter what it is, as we've seen, that the letters in that alphabet have gotten longer and longer because they keep adding more and more things, and they keep pushing boundaries. So they went from gays to gays and lesbians, gays and lesbians and transgenders, gays, lesbians, transgenders to queers. Now you got people trying to add heterosexual, which is a pedophile, onto it. So you have two opposing ideas here. You have an idea of standards, an idea of organization, an idea of boundaries, an idea, and then on the opposite side, you have an idea of none of those things. No standards, no boundaries, disorganization, confusion, and chaos, and a lack of seriousness. One of the things you notice about LGBTQ people, they like to party all the time, engage in drugs, and a lot of, just a lot of sexual debauchery and things of those things. And a serious man, yeah, that doesn't mean he can't have fun and things like that. But there's a time and place for discipline. There's a time and place for focus. There's a time and place for organization. And so, if you're a woman, you have to figure out which one's more important. Because a man, a manly man, is just not going to want to be around. Forget a bunch of. He's not going to want to be around one homosexual. And people are like, oh, he's homophobic. Again, the word phobia or phobic denotes fear. It has nothing to do with fear. Some people fear rattlesnakes. But they fear rattlesnakes because rattlesnakes can kill you. But no one's scared of homosexuals, but people don't like to be around that environment because the lifestyle is the opposite of the lifestyle they want to lead. The lifestyle is the opposite of the lifestyle they want their children to lead. The lifestyle is the opposite of the lifestyle they want their children to be around. And so we have two opposing forces here. And so now the question becomes for sisters, as a brother I know used to say, who you with? And I think he stole that from Bernie Mac. Sisters have to make a choice. The reason that brothers feel like, that black men feel like, that sisters support LGBTQ, the rest of the letters, more than they support straight black men is, one, you don't hear sisters oppose LGBTQ, but you do hear sisters oppose straight black men. And so even though it may be the case of a vocal minority, nonetheless, you hear those voices. As men, we hear those voices. And I am wise enough to know, to understand that some of these people are being paid. So when websites or magazines like the Griot say things about straight black men, I understand those people being paid for that. I understand that that's propaganda. Sorry about that, brothers and sisters. As I was saying, as black men, we want to see the same type of vocal support and pushback against the narrative, against the propaganda that we see. So we see people attacking straight black men. We've seen the articles, I guess it was about a year ago, calling straight black men the white men of the black community. Now, that doesn't even make any sense. Straight black men do not have the economic power, even over the black community, do not have the military power over the black community, and do not make any laws over the black community. Therefore, that's a ridiculous assertion. But it's eye-catching. And it makes people think and like, yeah, they're right, without even actually thinking about what white men do on this planet. What white men are known for on this planet. And so, brothers, from their perspective, they see this. We see the attacks. We see the propaganda. We see the vilification. We see the degradation of straight black men. Not all black men, but we see it of straight black men. And then we see sisters support even stuff that they don't even think of as LGBT. I'll give you a prime example of something that sisters have loved for years. And it's transgenderism. But they don't think of it that way. Medea. Tyler Perry appears to be a man well over 6 feet tall, whose number one character and his number one moneymaker, and the reason his movies are so popular, is because he dresses up as an old woman. He dresses up as someone's grandmother. So Tyler Perry cross-dressing is his most popular product, and the people who support that product the most have been black women. Again, nobody thinks of it that way. If you talk to sisters about it, they'll be like, I never thought about it like that. I know they say that because I've talked to them about it. But who is the straight black male that sisters support the way they supported those Tyler Perry movies? Maybe Idris Elba? Maybe. And I'm talking about just in the entertainment field. That's like the only person I can really think of. You know, back in the day, maybe Denzel Washington? Maybe. But the question is, let's take those two gentlemen. if those two gentlemen were to come out and say, I am staunchly against the LGBT. I believe that that lifestyle is wrong, and I believe it sets a bad example for our community. How many of our sisters would abandon Idris Elba and drop him like a bad habit? How many of our sisters would drop Denzel Washington if they took that stance? And so it's these things that brothers see that make them think, okay, we got to deal with the Europeans woman, the LGBT, and our women on the same team against us. That's how brothers feel. And again, the reason brothers feel this way, and when I posted it on Instagram and said this is gonna be what this week's show is about, brothers just came in the DMs and was like, yeah, man, I hate to say it, it seemed like it. That's how I feel. Yeah, they do. So forth, so on. And what was deep is there were sisters who also agreed. They also agreed. They said the same thing. And so the question is, so it's two questions. The question is the original question. Do black women love and support homosexuals when they love and support straight black men? And another thing that has taken place, you don't hear now. When I was younger, sisters did not like, the same way most straight brothers don't really like homosexual males. Sisters did not like lesbians. Sisters didn't want no lesbian around them. They didn't want to be in their presence. They just looked at it as something that's like, hey, man, keep that stuff over there. But what's taking place, and I know the reason for it, we have more and more sisters involved who have been involved in lesbianism in some way, shape, or capacity, have done some type of experimentation, that now they don't feel so comfortable enough standing against any homosexuality because they have done some things that now they're not even sure where they fit in as far as their sexuality. And so even though the sister is straight, even though she only dates men, maybe now, maybe she even has a boyfriend that's black, significant other, still lingering in her back of her mind is, who am I to say anything about this because I used to, even though people may not know. You know, sometimes you have things in your closet, you don't want to speak out against them because you don't want the things to pop out your closet and be like, you know, gotcha. And so this is, from my perspective, where we stand with this issue and with this discussion. And so the question is, for those sisters who do not support the LGBT, those sisters who take a stand against it, the question becomes, are you, well, I feel like those who are against it, I can't say those who take a stand against it, those who are against it but haven't taken a stand, what will it take for those sisters to at least, at the very least, stand up for straight black men and declare their allegiance to straight black men? Now, in the context of straight black pride and our philosophy, a straight black man is not only a man that's not homosexual, it's also a man that doesn't deal with pedophilia. So someone, and I'm just going to use his name, someone that's been accused of something like R. Kelly, and I guess now they're saying that he's homosexual too, which, hey, whatever. But just saying, at the first rumors were him and little girls. In the context of straight black pride, he's not straight. The context of straight black pride is consenting black man with a consenting black woman. So in that context, a man that's A pedophile is not straight. Let's get that clear. A rapist is not straight. Let's get that clear. So, within that context, where are the sisters who will be willing to take a stand against the push of the propaganda that straight black men are the problem in the black community? Because if those sisters don't stand up, the onslaught will continue. And what will take place is that more and more black men will just begin to cede from the black community and just to isolate themselves from the black community. Maybe even travel overseas or whatever, find themselves a sister there. I mean, that is a big talking point going on in the black male community. And just divorce themselves from the black community overall. And these types of men are really, a lot of times, these are quality men. These are quality brothers. And so sisters, without even understanding what's going on, part of the reason brothers don't even want to be around sisters is sisters' infatuation and love of LGBT. Nicki Minaj with her double entendres and her allusions to lesbianism. To a straight man, it's not appealing. Tyler Perry, not appealing. And some of these other things in the media, some of these things that's going on, they're not appealing. And so if you see a sister that's into those things, she may be physically attractive, but you don't want to be around her. And then, of course, sisters, as I said with the story at the beginning, are actually making dating decisions on a heterosexual relationship based on the heterosexual man that they hope to find feelings, or for a woman, that man's feelings about the LGBT, even though she's not part of the LGBT community. You see how that is? And so it's really a weird dynamic. And really the sisters, on this issue, the ball is in y'all court. You have to make a choice now. Do you want to support strong manhood? Or do you want to support LGBT? Do you want to support lesbianism? Do you want to see men wearing high-heeled boots and twerking? Is that your idea of manhood in the 21st century? Or is your idea of manhood discipline? Is your idea of manhood intelligence? Is your idea of manhood seriousness? Is your idea of manhood not just the physical outward, not just a brother that's cut up and in shape and look good, but is he psychologically a man? Does he fear our enemy? Does he shake in his boots when the enemy comes? Or does he stand upright on his square? Does he speak truth to power? That's manhood. Does he do everything he can to fight against racism and white supremacy? Does he do everything he can, even while fighting against racism and white supremacy, to provide for his family? Those are things that the LGBT will not support, and those are things that a man that's of that mind will not support the LGBT. So for the sisters, the choice is yours. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. We're going to come back. We're going to do the announcements again. If we have any calls, we're going to take the calls. If we do not have any calls, we're going to continue the discussion. So right now, brothers and sisters, we're going break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to On the Wake Up Radio, and now an announcement by Maxine. Contact her at maxlaw5948@gmail.com. That's MAXLAW5948@gmail.com. Enjoy.
Warning! Unfortunately, new information has come to light. All I could say is, I'm so sorry. It was brought to my attention that there are many problems being reported from people taking our nutrigenomic products. So, since I've plastered your newsfeed with the information I have, I feel it's only fair I report the problems. You may want to work out, clean the house, work in your garden, play with your children, and stay up past 10 p.m. because you have that much energy. You may have to throw out your alarm clock with the snooze button because you will wake up feeling refreshed and ready to start your day every morning. You may lose your relationship with fizzy drinks and chocolate bars because you just won't feel the same way about them anymore. You may have to answer a lot of questions like, wow, you look great. What are you doing? Or, how can I feel as good as you? Because people will notice the difference it's made. You may have to convince people who think you're lying about your age because healthy makes you look younger. If you do not have any of these problems, please contact me as soon as possible.
All right, brothers and sisters, welcome back to On the Wake Up Radio. This is The Center, and I am your host, GC Radical 1. To call into the show, the call-in number is 646-547-1305. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at DCRadical1. And as I said before, our topic of discussion is, do black women support the LGBT more than they support straight black men? And I believe we have a caller that is called in. So, caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, sir, brother. State your name and where you're from for us.
Okay, my name is Patrick. I'm from New York City. I currently reside in Long Island.
All right, brother. So, what are your thoughts on this discussion here?
Well, you know what? The great icon, Neely Fuller, discussed this topic a long time ago in his book, The United Independent Compensatory Code.
Right.
And yes, the whole homosexuality, LGBT thing, it's an agenda. It's an agenda. So when it's constantly being pushed on you over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, sometimes you break, you know, because I remember, you know, I'm 43 years old now. I grew up in the 80s, and at that time, you didn't have this LGBT agenda being pushed on you every single time you picked up a magazine, or every single time you picked up a newspaper, or every single time you turned on the television, you know, back in the 80s. But now, see, and if you compare people's attitudes about homosexuality back in the 80s, and compare it to now, so back in the 80s, when I grew up, and we grew up or whatever, people, particularly the black community in particular, frowned upon homosexuality. But it wasn't just the black community, though. Right. Pretty much every community frowned upon homosexuality.
At least publicly.
Back in the East. But now, look at now.
Right.
So, okay. You were going to say something?
No, you were breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, you see the difference? There's a huge difference. I mean, you know, now you pretty much can't go anywhere where someone somewhere isn't trying to throw this in your face.
Right.
You know, where they trying to force this on you now. I mean, look at Illinois, for instance. It's now mandatory in Illinois' public schools to quote unquote teach gay history now.
Right. And you're going to see that around the country because I believe California is either working on it or is doing it as well. But here's my question to you, brother. And I agree with everything you're saying. But my question is, why does it appear to brothers that sisters support that more? Why are sisters supporting it more than brothers? And why are sisters supporting it more than they're supporting their straight black men? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that particular point.
Well, it's the same exact thing. It's because there's an agenda. There's an agenda. And the agenda is, well, I mean, like, for instance, the term toxic masculinity, okay?
Right.
Term toxic masculinity. That's a term that we hear a lot more nowadays. Right. I'm hearing that term more and more and more and more nowadays. Toxic masculinity. Now, since when was masculinity toxic? That's the first question. The second question is this. How come... That they wanted it to be. Okay, the second thing is, how come whenever someone is talking about toxic masculinity, it's in reference to black men? No white man is ever called toxic masculinity.
Right. No.
Anytime you hear that term, it's always directed towards black men.
Right.
You notice that?
Yes, sir.
No white man is ever called toxic masculinity. Because, for the most part, they always try to prop up the white man. Mm. They always try to prop up the white man, but the black man, they want to tear you down. You see? So you can see very clearly that is an agenda. So when you connect it to the LGBT agenda, now you see how there's a direct correlation. There's a direct correlation with toxic masculinity, and there's a direct correlation with how some of our black females who are young and influential can fall into the trap, into believing in a concept of, the strong black man is not what's needed. We need to embrace our feminine side. You can see that there's a correlation between the two. Yes, so that's why, you do see more and more women nowadays who have accepted homosexuality when in yesteryear you didn't see that kind of thing.
Right. All right, brother. I'm going to let you go, but there were some profound thoughts there, and I can agree of what you gave us, and you gave us a lot to think about. Again, I thank you for calling in. Thank you for your support. It was good seeing you last week. And straight black pride.
Straight black pride.
All right. That was our brother Patrick up in New York, bringing us some of the wisdom of Neely Fuller and breaking down what he sees is the agenda to get our sisters to believe that straight black men are the problem and not the solution. So again, that's a good brother, strong brother. He has been a supporter of straight black pride and a supporter of myself, and I greatly appreciate that brother calling in. And he gave us some profound things. I find it interesting. So basically, what he was saying is, in a way, the propaganda is targeted towards the women. I believe we got another caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I think you got me on in the background. Can you mute that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you hear me well now?
Yes, I can. How are you today? State your name and where you're from.
I'm doing well. This is Martha calling in from Bay Area, California.
Oh, okay. I know who this is. How are you today?
How you doing, Brother Conrad?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I love your show so far.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I had two thoughts while listening to you speak, and one of them is the reason why I can say that the majority, I think right now, the majority of Black women do or think that it is okay to, to support the LGBT community. And the second is my personal thoughts on why I think they do support it. And so the first one is because I think the media, like you hit the nail on the head. You said the media is, a perpetrator in this, and I think you are so right, because I was raised by a single mom, and unfortunately, I had a lot of screen time. But now I'm able to see that the media kind of makes it makes a point to place people who consider themselves part of the LGBT community in a place of victimhood. And the perpetrators are, usually strong men. And in our case, sometimes it's strong Black men. And so there's this narrative that keeps playing over and over again that, they're victims, they're discriminated against, especially in the Black community, Christians and the Black community doesn't accept the LGBT community, and, they're being bullied and, hated on just because of, not being able to love who they want. There's this rhetoric and narrative that's being played over and over again. And at the same time, strong Black men are seen as the ones who are doing the bullying and the victimizing. So, and even, I remember it was kind of like a cool thing to have a gay friend. It was like kind of like a sidekick or a buddy. I remember some TV shows, they always had the gay friend, giving fashion advice and, just, being the comic relief and stuff. And I remember at some point, actually, as a young woman, wanting a gay friend, before I was straight Black and proud.
You want to know what was so interesting about what you just said? I had a relationship. That was like the last straw in a relationship I had years ago with a sister. She started getting her hair done at this place, and this homosexual was there, and she started talking about what they were talking about, and I'm looking at her like, why are you hanging with this homosexual? And she's like, oh, he's harmless, this and this and that. Needless to say, that relationship didn't last long, but continue.
Yeah, so there's this weird thing going on where, gay people or gay dudes are the sidekick of the female, of the woman, the ultimate sidekick, the fashionista, the one, giving us advice on what to wear and stuff. And so I remember as a young person thinking that it would be cool to have a gay friend.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
With taking into account what you just said, as a woman, did it ever occur to you that this person was competition for men?
Not until the ancestors woke me up and I started digging for myself. But as a younger person, totally enveloped in the matrix, or I don't know how else to put it, but it never did. No, because that's not the narrative. The narrative is, gay men are, docile and they just want to be our friends, and they're funny, and they're harmless. That's the narrative that's being pushed. And they're the victims, they're the ones who are being abused and hurt and all this. So no, it didn't cross my mind that one day they'd be asking for uteruses and now I'm
Right.
a target.
Right. All right, sister. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for calling in. I definitely am glad that a sister called in to voice her opinion on it. Again, you gave us some great insight. I hope you call in again. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. And straight Black Pride.
For sure. Straight Black Pride.
All right, we got another caller. Caller, state your name and where you're from.
All right. This is the Irritated Genie. I'm from Washington, D.C.
Well, we have a special guest here, the one and only Irritated Genie of Southeast, founder of War on the Horizon and the Straight Black Pride movement. Yes, sir, brother. What are your thoughts on this issue?
I just want to say, man, it's a fantastic program. I'm glad I got a chance to tune in. And I just want to say real quickly, the brother said something that I thought was poignant, and I think that we need to really start taking advantage of some of this terminology that's being thrown out there. The statement is generally made that, in resentment, and I understand where it's coming from, that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. And I'm going to say we actually need to take that term because it actually helps us in what we're trying to do, those of us that believe black man, woman, child, black family. There is a form of toxic masculinity. It's very toxic. It's the very thing that you're talking about, the homosexuality.
All
the
right.
most toxic form of masculinity in the known history of the world is when a man looks at another male and has the same type of desire that he would have for a woman to produce a family and a child. And that process that would be involved with that he does when he looks at a woman. That is absolutely toxic. And if we look at that reality, when people are saying toxic masculinity, it doesn't make sense when they point it at a straight black man because it's certainly not his straightness or his manhood that's toxic. But when we look at the homosexual, who they're in defense of, by pure definition, his masculinity, because he is a physical male, what he does with it is absolutely toxic. And I think we need to start taking that position. If you're against toxic masculinity, you can't at the same time verbalize that you're in favor of homosexuality.
That's an interesting point, brother, and I'm sure you would add the pedophile to that as well.
Absolutely. And I think that there's far too much acceptance by black men on the pedophile situation and homosexuality, quite frankly. And definitely from our sisters, there's too much acceptance of this behavior. We got to say, hey, you know what? Nothing wrong with a black man and a black woman working together and try to put this thing together. It can work, and it has worked, and we need to try to make it work even more.
Yes, sir. All right,
All
brother.
right. Well, thank you for that opportunity, brother. No?
Oh, man, I appreciate you calling in. Appreciate your support. Appreciate everything you do. You know we with you. We support you. Straight Black Pride, brother.
Straight Black Pride.
Yes, indeed. That was the one and only Irritated Genie of Southeast calling in. And that is another interesting point. Indeed, the pedophile and the homosexual, what they do is toxic. One, because they destroy families, either way you look at it. And it causes, another thing it does, it causes distrust between black men and black women, because if you have a man who claims he's straight, but he's in the closet, and then he's dealing with those things, now you have confusion. I hear we have another caller. Caller, state your name and where you're from. Okay, I think we lost that caller. All right. We have about 7 or 8 minutes left in the show. Again, the call-in number is 646-547-1305 if you would like to add on to this topic. Again, we are discussing, do black women support homosexuals more than they support and love straight black men? We've had some wonderful insight from our callers. We talked about the use of propaganda and how it affects the mind of black women. We talked about the true definition of toxic masculinity, and I think we have, I think we really made some headway into this discussion. I think that we possibly could have another discussion on this topic and go a little bit deeper with it. But, you know, my thoughts on it are that I think what we have, I think part of it is generational. I also think part of it is there's a loud minority. And what I mean by that is you have a group of sisters who they have a husband, they have a boyfriend, they have a father, they have sons. They love the men in their life. They love the black men in their life. They love the fact that they're straight. They love the fact that they will change their tire for them. They love the fact that they will carry all the groceries in the house. They love the fact that if there's a sound at night, that he's going to get up with his gun or machete. Some brothers carry guns and machetes. And he's going to be the first line of defense. You have those groups of sisters. Those groups of sisters are generally content, and what they don't want to do is waste time getting in an argument with the loud minority. And so for us as brothers, because we're on the outside looking in, it appears that the loud minority is a majority speaking in a speaking voice. And so from our perspective, if you don't have one of those sisters in your life or in your life that is for straight black men, then your perception becomes that of the loud minority. I believe that's what's taking place. Another thing that's taking place is sisters, even though they may support black men, and I guess these two things are they're interrelated, they don't want to get in conflict with other black women over this topic. So even though they support black men, actually standing up and voicing opposition to the propaganda, that's a step that many of them aren't willing to take. Because what happens is what I like to call the toxic gynocracy will attack these women and vilify them. And in fact, they even have a term for sisters that support black men. The term is a pick-me. And it's a pejorative term in the way of its usage, but in reality, all women are pick-me's. Because all women want interaction either from men or, if they're lesbian, from man-like women so that they can have a partner in relationship with. And so they use a term that really applies to all women and make it a pejorative term. We got a last second call. Sure, we'll take it. Caller, state your name and where you're from. You got about 2 minutes.
Momina from LA.
All right. What are your thoughts on this topic?
I'm not too sure what the topic is.
Oh, okay. Well, the topic is, do black women support homosexuals more than they support straight black men? You have a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't believe the masses of black women support gay men over straight men. I don't think that's true.
Okay. And
I don't know any women in my life that would rather uplift a gay man than a straight man. So I don't know any women like that.
Okay, that's interesting. So what you're saying is, I don't roll in those circles, so therefore you don't see it that way.
I'm pretty sure it exists, but I'm saying I don't feel like the masses of women support gay men, so I don't really think it should be something that's. To me, it's not really something that needs to be. If there's other more important topics to talk about within our community, then I feel like to talk about that, because I feel like the masses don't support gay men over black men. That doesn't even sound right.
Well, the topic wasn't just gay men; it was the whole homosexual spectrum. For example, and I'm gonna be quick. My point is that what you said, I believe that there's a silent majority being outshouted by a loud minority. But again, as I stated, where is the support for straight black men when the vilification and the things take place?
Okay. the support is there. Are you saying black women don't support black men on a majority basis type thing? Because I mean that's completely untrue.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not the women you've had in your life, but like I said, the women I'm around, my mother, my grandmother, they supported their men. So I don't understand what I don't think the average, just regular 9 to 5, regular rich celebrity. I don't think the average black woman would not support her man. I mean, that's very yeah.
Okay, let me say it. We're not talking about an individual basis. We're talking about supporting straight manhood, which means, again, standing against homosexuality. So I think that's the disconnect we have there. Thank you for your call, and hopefully you'll call in again. All right, sister?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, brothers and sisters, so we're going to close out the show, and again, I thank everybody for calling in. I think we had an absolutely fantastic show. Again, I'm going to read these announcements. On September 14th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at Everlasting Life Cafe, which is located at 9185 Central Avenue, Capitol Heights, Maryland, 20743. We're having the Straight Black Pride Singles Mixer. Come out. You might meet someone special, and if not, you will at least have fun. And last but not least, you can also meet myself. And then the week after that, September 21st at 6 p.m., Straight Black Pride Movement presents myself, Brother Conrad, a.k.a. DC Radical 1, and I'm doing a lecture, Africa versus Everybody, the extended remix. You get a full lecture, and if you come out, again, this is Everlasting Life, you get that lecture this time for free. You don't want to miss it because the next time it may not be free. So with that, brothers and sisters, I thank everybody for calling in. This is, again, On the Wake Up Radio. This is The Center. I am your host, DC Radical 1. And with that, we say BB for Hodie and Straight Black Pride.
Imperial Media Collective.
Cindy Ashby Productions.
On the Wake Up